What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and the House Republicans just passed a massive debt limits bill. And House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has a direct message to President Biden. I'll let you hear it here in just a moment, and we'll also go over the details here on how it would affect millions and millions of Americans, benefits across the board, a lot of details. However, Democrats absolutely hate the bill, as every single Democrat voted against it, albeit Republicans were able to pass it because they have the majority in the House. We'll talk about what is likely to happen here going forward as well in this video. But first, I'll let you hear directly what House Speaker Kevin McCarthy had to say right after passing the bill. Well, here it is. Take a listen.
The House Republicans just passed the only bill in Washington that lifts the debt limit, ends wasteful Washington spending, and puts America back on the right economic path. That we're going to limit the growth in the future. We're going to save by pulling back this unspent COVID money. We're going to grow this economy by making us energy independent again and getting more people, encouraging them back to work. The sad part here is now the Democrats need to do their job. The president can no longer ignore by not negotiating. Senator Schumer, if he thinks he's got a plan, put it on the floor. See if you can pass it, and then we can go to conference. But now the president can no longer put this economy in jeopardy. We lifted the debt limit. We've sent it to the Senate. We've done our job, the only body in here that's done theirs. The Senate, I got to give them credit. They did name March Maple Syrup Month, and they have thanked UConn and congratulated them for their basketball win. But they've done nothing when it comes to the economy or the debt limit.
Speaker McCarthy,
yes.
When it does go to the Senate ultimately, and they inevitably make changes, this was already a very tight vote for your conference. How are you going to keep everyone on board when it seems like even minor tweaks could mean someone falls off?
That's so interesting because all your questions before is how could I ever pass the bill? All your questions before says we never could. We're the only body that passed anything. Why do you assume the Senate can pass anything? Because I haven't seen them do anything. So right now, this is the only place that has lifted the debt limit. So the Democrats are putting the country in jeopardy. The president, by ignoring to even negotiate. The majority of Americans overwhelmingly want us to sit down and negotiate, to make sure we end our dependency on China, to stop the inflations the Democrats created by spending $6 trillion. No one in America believes there's not one place that you can't find a place that you could have savings in what Washington spends. And I think it's up to them now. Yes, ma'am.
Now in order to bring President Biden to the table besides passing this? Is there anything?
I don't know what we're supposed to do. We've done our job. I've sat down with the president on February 1st. He ignored the rest of the time. He treats it just like the border. He wants to ignore it and thinks it goes away. That doesn't work in America. He's putting the American economy in jeopardy by his lack of action. Now he should sit down and negotiate. We passed this early. We are in April, way ahead of the debt limit. We are the only party to take fiscal action in a sound mind that would lift the debt limit so we wouldn't have economic damage. We've also put us back on a path to end the Washington wasteful spending and to grow our economy and make us stronger.
Speaker McCarthy.
Hi, thank you. Jackson Richmond with the Epic Times. If there isn't a long-term agreement on the debt ceiling increase, would you and House Republicans be open to like a week or weeks long or months long
We
extension?
just passed the bill. It's not our job to modify it. The Senate could pass our bill or send us something that they have, and we'll go to conference. Otherwise, we've done our job. We're the only ones to lift the debt limit to make sure this economy is not in jeopardy.
So on President Biden, at this point, has there been any progress at all on any potential meeting? Is your staff talking to his staff at this point? Is there any communication?
No, the president has ignored every opportunity to communicate after sitting down with him, even though he told the Democratic conference when he was at their retreat that he was going to meet with me. He has not, which is so odd because All the times in the past, he argued against people who wouldn't negotiate. As vice president, he put the Biden team together to negotiate on the debt limit. The Democrats have done this every time. When President Trump was in, Nancy Pelosi said, you cannot pass a debt limit without having negotiations on spending. This is how it's happened all the time before. The senator at the time, president, as Senator Biden, he voted 4 times to raise the debt limit if they did something on the fiscal end. Then the 4 times that he voted against it, he only voted against it based upon thinking the economic changes didn't go far enough. So what's changed, Mr. President? You've gone so far as you won't even negotiate to put America in debt? That's not how the leader of the free world should act. That's not how America wants you to act. You said at the very beginning we had to show you a plan, even though the Democrats have shown no plan. Not only did we show you a plan, we're the only ones to pass a plan. So I think it's up to you now. Whether the economy goes in any trouble, it's you, because the Republicans raised the debt limit. You have not. Neither has Schumer.
Speaker,
Yes.
some of the House Freedom Caucus members who voted to support this bill, Thorman, Good, they said that they support it, but if the Senate sends back a revised version, they want me to fight and stand your ground.
Exactly right.
Can you promise them that you won't accept the
I don't
draft
have
version?
to. I don't have to promise you. I promised the American public from the very beginning. We promised them that we would end our dependency on China. So not only did we create a select committee on China, we just passed a bill to make America stronger and China weaker. We said we would curb inflation that the Democrats created. How do you do that? Milton Friedman, one of the greatest economists of all time, says inflation is only started through Washington spending. That's what the Democrats did, harmed every single American. We eliminate wasteful Washington spending to curb inflation. We said we would grow the economy to make us energy independent, to actually cut the red tape so we could build things in America again. We passed H.R. 1, we put it in here as well. So we limit the future spending of Washington, the growth. The president makes some audacious, crazy comments about it. And all we're saying is we should spend exactly what we spent 4 months ago. This president wants to spend more money than we spent during COVID. This president thinks, even though he would sign the bill of the pandemic that it's over, that they should keep the billions of dollars sitting out there that has not been spent, that sat there for 2 years over COVID. You know what? That's not the president's money. That's the American hardworking taxpayer money. And we should pull it back and save them money because it wasn't spent.
Speaker McCarthy.
Yes,
This
ma'am.
is the first big test, big vote of your speakership. Obviously, you started off in a not ideal way. How far do you think the conference has come, and what does today mean for you?
That's your opinion. I don't think this is the first big significant vote. I think every single week you have raised that same question with me. You raised the question whether I could even become speaker. We went 15 rounds. We became speaker. Then you raised the question, could we even pass 87,000 IRS agents and yank them out, and we did it. You raised the question if we could make the Intel Committee back to the place that it should be, that people couldn't be having relationships with a Chinese spy. We did that. Then you said, could we stand up for the American public that we said in the commitment to America, that we would pass the Parents' Bill of Rights? We passed that. We said when we put forth H.R. 1, that we'd stand firm to make our energy independent in America and build our economy. We passed that. We looked and said when we watched Washington, D.C. decriminalize every form of crime, that we stood up the first time in 30 years of Congress to do that. And you all asked me the same question. What's going to happen when the Senate stops it? Well, the Senate didn't stop it. It passed it. What's going to happen when the president said beforehand, why'd you even vote on it? Because he wasn't going to sign it. He signed it. When we passed a bill in the pandemic so we could get back to work again, you said, why even do it? The Senate's not going to take it up. The president said he's going to veto it. It's law today. So every question that you continue to raise, you guys have been wrong. You've underestimated us. But you know the one place that they haven't underestimated? The American public. Why? Because those are the people we were working for, day in and day out. And just as it took me 15 rounds to win Speaker, the one thing I have promised the American public, I will never give up on you. So what we did today was raise the debt limit, stop the wasteful Washington spending, and curb inflation, and put us on a path that we can continue to grow.
Okay, so just to be clear, so we're on the same page. The House has passed the debt limit, like Kevin McCarthy said there, but it's not officially passed. So don't get all, don't start cracking the champagne and saying, thank God we skated by on that one. The debt limit is not passed officially because remember, a bill has to pass the House and the Senate and be signed by the president. And right now, Democrats hate this bill. Now, the Republicans did negotiate a few terms down or negotiate a few terms earlier, a few hours before they passed it, and to see if they could get some Democratic votes on it. Whether or not that will pass in the Senate, we'll see. It's unlikely, but it was a starting point. The real question here is what will the Democrats come back with? Here's some details of what's in the bill. Key components of what's in this bill: raising the debt limit by $1.5 trillion or extending it through March 2024. So not even a year, whichever comes first. Could even be less than March 2024 because if it comes first, leaving an election year showdown for next year. Cutting and capping discretionary spending for the next year, the next 10 years, starting with $1.47 trillion top line in fiscal 2024 alone, and allowing for a 1% annual growth only, 1% annual growth in spending over the following 9 years. That's a massive spending cut, and it's going to hit all across the board in all sorts of categories. The first year cap reflects a $131 billion cut from current funding levels, which spending wouldn't catch up to until the end of the decade under the proposal. Repealing most of the energy tax credits from the Democrats' 2022 climate tax and health law, with the exception of some biofuel provisions Midwestern Republicans pushed to protect. Rescinding unobligated IRS tax enforcement and climate-related grant funds from the 2022 law, unspent COVID-19 relief funds from various pandemic aid packages as well. Also, would cancel President Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness plan for like 40 million Americans, which the Supreme Court has not even ruled on yet. So that would take money right out of the pockets of about 40 million Americans that are hoping to get some financial relief on that. This would straight up just cancel it, regardless of whether the Supreme Court rules yes on it. Congress would overrule them. If this were to pass in the Senate, it has passed in the House. Or remember, this is up for negotiation based on what the Senate and the president decide as well. I will keep you up to date on all this. Expanding existing work requirements for the SNAP program, also known as food stamps, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP, and the TANF program, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. Note the keywords here: expanding existing work requirements, and instituting new rules for Medicaid beneficiaries. What I had seen previously is they want to buff them up to 30 hours per week. We will have to get more details here going forward. Overhauling infrastructure, permitting, and other energy-related laws and regulations to spur more domestic production, and primarily for fossil fuels, more production here as well. Requiring congressional authorization for major administration regulatory initiatives. Republicans said the measure reflects and shares priorities for various ideological factions in the conference and serves as their opening offer to President Biden and Senate Democrats who want a clean debt limit increase, which would mean no changes at all. Kevin McCarthy said, quote, "The whole purpose of this is to compel the president to negotiate and to demonstrate to Washington, D.C. that Kevin McCarthy has the votes to raise the debt ceiling," said Republican French Hill, Republican from Arkansas. Brendan Boyle, from Democrat from Pennsylvania, says, quote, "There's no way Congress will agree to 10 years of destructive caps and the biggest single cut to non-defense programs in American history. Now, if they pass nothing, our country defaults, economic collapse like we've never seen before. The US dollar could literally collapse. Stock market could collapse, recession like we've never seen before, and a possible or maybe definite delay of anything kind of money coming out from the government, including Social Security payments, Medicare, Medicaid, SSI, SSDI, VA, any type of money that comes from the government, delay at best. Worse, well, you guys can imagine. But if it has to do with money coming from the government and the government runs out of money and can't send it, think delays at best. And at this point, if Democrats absolutely hate the idea and Republicans are holding their ground, well, you can see that there's a significant difference here. You guys can let me know your thoughts on this. I will keep you up to date here on a daily basis about this and everything else going on here in our country and around the world on a daily basis. So if you haven't yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you don't miss out on new videos. Thank you for liking and sharing these videos here as well. Anybody that needs to know this here. And here's some videos you should watch next. The U.S. is preparing for war, and here's what Congress is doing about it right now. Or you can click here to watch my newest video next. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.